Hey, buddy. Look at that. Hate when they don't give me their last names. It's Flash. The first window. Here. All of that. Number 7. Hi, everybody, and good morning. It is Wednesday, March 22nd, and it is absolutely pouring outside at the moment. But good morning. We're here for my intro psych classes. We're in week number 3. Can everyone hear me and see me okay? Just to make sure that everything is coming through just fine on your end. I'll wait just a minute. If someone could let me know in the chat, that would be amazing. Hopefully that means everything is all right. I know there's not too many of you. There's still a bunch of people getting logged in. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Perfect. I'm glad It's all coming through. So, what I want to do today is I want to take a few minutes to give you a little bit of feedback about weeks 1 and 2, since weeks 1 and 2 finished and I've graded all of them and sent out an email about that back on Monday. And then we'll talk about what we have going on for this week, week number 3. I will, of course, give you the Twitch extra credit question for this week, and then some reminders about the things that are coming up. And then I'll see, of course, if any of you have any questions for me afterwards. So that is our plan for today. So let's go ahead and go over to Canvas together, and we'll start by talking about the last 2 weeks. So weeks 1 and 2 are officially over. We are 1/4 of the way through our very short class that we have together. And I just wanted to give you just a little bit of general feedback. Now, I did send out an announcement on Monday, and I showed you where you can find your grades and how you can find your feedback. So if you haven't already found that, make sure you do go and look that up. I do give each one of you feedback with a rubric, and then I oftentimes will make a few little comments as well. But for weeks 1 and 2, some of the general things that I saw, just kind of a few general comments to help all of you. So one thing that I'm seeing on the discussions, a lot of you are earning full points. You're giving me beautiful, well thought out responses. The number one reason that a few of you lost points was just not quite giving me enough. So if I wrote something to the effect of give me a little bit more, or I was looking for a little bit more, make sure you elaborate in your responses moving forward so that you do get all those points. And then a few people forgot to reply to a classmate, and that is worth 2 points, and those are a very easy 2 points to get. So make sure that you do start doing that the rest of the way through. So for discussion number 1, just a couple of quick pieces of feedback. Most of you did a great job talking about the subfields and what you think of with psychology. A few people define nature and nurture a little incorrectly. Nurture is like your environment and your experiences, and nature refers to genetics and biology. A few people talked about nature as like trees and plants and kind of the natural world, which isn't quite right for our purposes. But otherwise, again, for the most part, really nicely done. That was the biggest issue I saw on that one. Discussion 2, I really enjoyed all of your research ideas that you had. Most of you did a beautiful job really elaborating on what you wanted to know and how you would find that out. Again, the biggest reason people lost points, just not quite elaborating enough or forgetting to reply to a classmate. For week number 2, we had discussions 3 and 4. So for discussion number 3, you were looking at neurons and the brain and the 10% myth of the brain. The biggest place that people struggled here was on number 2. I was really looking for you to talk about electrochemical communication, that neurons communicate with each other through an electrochemical process, that the electrical piece is controlled by ions, the chemical piece by neurotransmitters. That was the biggest spot that people lost points on. But again, a lot of you did a beautiful job, and you're going to start to, kind of settle in and understand my expectations. And if at any point you ever want more, my cat's losing his mind, want any more feedback or to talk to me about your grades, please feel free to email me. I'd be happy to do that with you. And then finally, discussion number 4 for the last 2 weeks was on smell and memories. I hope you enjoyed the opportunity to kind of smell some random stuff and think about what associations you might have. The biggest spot people struggled here was on number 2. I was looking for you to describe, what smell memories are, how they occur, the different processes in the different parts of the brain that are involved, a little bit about conditioning. Some of you just didn't quite elaborate enough there. But again, I was pretty happy with the scores that I saw. A lot of you did a beautiful job. And hopefully now that we've gone through those first grades, you have a better idea of what to expect and what to do moving forward. The only other thing that we did have previously was the first exam, and a lot of you should be very, very happy with your scores. A lot of you did a beautiful job, scored very highly. The average score on the first exam was an 88%, which is just shy of an A. There were a lot of A's, a lot of B's. The high score was 100%. The average amount of time most of you took was 59 minutes. So what that tells me is most of you had plenty of time, you were well prepared. I would really like to encourage you to use the first exam as a learning opportunity. So if you did really well, then clearly whatever you did this first unit worked. Keep it up, do the same thing. If you wish you had done a little bit better, this is a wonderful time to kind of, play around with things a little. We have 3 more exams in this class, so you could start studying a little earlier. You could go chapter by chapter. If you didn't do the study guide, definitely do the study guide for the next one. So this is a wonderful opportunity for you to reflect. And I'm actually having you do that formally in an assessment this week that I'll talk about. But a lot of you, pats on the back, should feel very happy with your score. There were a lot of A's. So what we will do with that is we will move on to this week, which is week number 3. But really quickly, any other thoughts, comments, questions, anything about the first 2 weeks before we move on to our current week? I'll wait just a moment to let you catch up, see if there are any questions. I was trying to see if I could get my cat to come over, but I think he knows that if he does, I'll scoop him up. He's too smart for me. If you think of anything, obviously feel free to put that in the chat. I'm not seeing anything so far. So I'm going to move on to this week. And this week we're looking at chapters 5 and 6. So we're looking at the topics of consciousness and learning, 2 very kind of core topics to our class. So make sure, as usual, that you read chapter 5 and chapter 6 in the ebook. Really important to do that. And then you're going to want to read through my lectures and watch the lecture video. The lectures, remember, click on anything that's in there, watch any videos I put in there. Everything is going to be helpful for you understanding. Page 1 is always that objective and summary. Page 2, beyond the book. I have a couple of fun videos here about change blindness and inattentional blindness. They're very entertaining and they demonstrate those concepts nicely. There's a little tutorial about sleep and the different stages of sleep, which will probably be very helpful for you. And then some fun information about sleep disorders and nightmares and energy drinks. Very fun topic. Chapter 5 is one of my favorites. In pop culture, lots of movies related to sleep and dreams and drugs and consciousness. I have a little clip here from Step Brothers about sleepwalking, a little one here from Yes Man about Red Bull and energy drinks. So again, anything in here, click on it and watch it. Hopefully it will help you to understand. The key terms, these are the terms you need to know for the next exam. So if you wanted to start preparing 1 chapter at a time, you could start reviewing these terms and then next week add the next chapters and so on. And then finally on the application page, I have a little bit here about dream recall and dream analysis. This might prove helpful for you for the discussion this week. And then a little bit about getting help for substance use disorders. So again, as always, read through them, click through everything. You're going to want to do the same thing for chapter 6. So read through those, watch the lecture video, and so on. All right, and hopefully you'll kind of get in that habit of doing all 3, reading the book, going through the lecture, and then watching the lecture video. All right, the other 2 things you have for this week, you have discussion number 5 and discussion number 6. So discussion number 5 is related to the topic of consciousness. And you'll always see these same instructions up here. You're going to want to watch my brief introduction video. Make sure that you think about these as mini papers and really elaborate and respond. And then don't forget to also reply to a classmate to get those 2 points. So 15 points in total. And again, a lot of you either got full points or were very close. Just always make sure to give me a lot and show off your knowledge and comprehension. For discussion 5, you are going to be thinking about dreams, kind of a fun thing to think about, and you have some time to hopefully capture a dream. So what I want you to do is watch the little video above where I gave you some tips highlighting how to remember your dreams, and I talked about one of my recent dreams. And then I want you to read this little dream article here. And after you've done that, you're going to select a dream that you had recently and that you remember with some detail. Make sure it's something that you don't mind sharing. Ideally, it has nothing to do with me. If it has something to do with me, wait for another one. That's just awkward, right? I had once had a student tell me about a dream where they murdered me and I couldn't look at them the same. So if it's about me, just pick a different one. But what you're going to do is briefly describe your dream, and then you're going to explain it from a minimum of 2 different dream theories and really show off that you understand the dream theories and how they could connect to your dream. So make sure you explain the dream theories and also apply that to your dream. And then why do you personally think that we dream? And I'll give you a heads up that people often lose points right here on this bullet, not describing the theories enough to show me that you understand them. So just make sure that you do that. I had a dream last night that was very inspired by You. I don't know if any of you watched the show You, but I was like totally like Joe in my dream. So random, right? Sometimes our dreams are an extension of what we watch before we go to sleep. That was definitely the case for me last night. I have a lot of cooking dreams because I watch a lot of food shows just before bed. Discussion number 6, the next one that you have to do. This one is related to learning. So as always, watch my little video clip. Again, same instructions, 15 points, reply to a peer and all of that. So for this one, I want you to watch this very brief clip from The Office, a very fun, comical clip. I think a lot of you have probably seen it before. But they show a little scene here where there is some classical conditioning taking place. You're going to think about the content covered in Chapter 6 and explain how Jim was able to condition Dwight. Be sure to reference all of the terminology. You're going to identify the US, UR, CS, and CR in the clip. And then finally, other than amusing pranks, describe one way you could use the concept and process of classical conditioning in your personal, academic, or social life. I want you to be specific and make sure that your example is classical conditioning. If you want to use the words reinforcement or punishment at any point, that's operant conditioning. So just make sure your example is classical. And you'll reply to me and then, of course, reply to a classmate and hopefully get those full 15 points. The one other thing that you do have this week, and I added this as a way for you to kind of reflect. Yes, it's the scene with the Altoids and the computer shutting down. Yep. So you've seen it before. Very popular scene. Very easy example of classical conditioning, sticking your hand out to that computer sound. So I look forward to your thoughts on that and then your thoughts on what you could use classical conditioning for in your life. And then this is the other little thing here. So self-assessment number 1. This is only worth 5 points, but it's a very easy 5 points. What you're going to be doing is reflecting on your progress in the class so far. Now that we've completed the first 2 weeks, the first unit, I want you to take a moment to consider your progress, your grades, your approach to the class, and you're going to just kind of reflect a little bit. So if we look at this together, make sure you're being honest. I'm not going to take points off, for you telling me you didn't study enough. Just be honest with me, be honest with yourself. The whole goal of this is to help you think about what you're doing and if it's working as we progress through the class. So I'm doing my part to learn as much as possible. On average, this is the amount of time I'm spending. I'm turning in my assignments on time. What's your most unclear point? And then thinking about your score on exam 1, is there anything you plan to do differently or continue doing moving forward? So answer these. It should only take you a few minutes. It's a very easy 5 points, but it's going to give you the opportunity to kind of think about what you're doing and if you want to change anything moving forward. Now, I do have a couple of reminders for you before we get to the extra credit question. I want to let you know, and I've mentioned this a few times, I am leaving tomorrow on a trip for a week. So I'm going on a cruise from Saturday to Saturday in the middle of the Yucatan Peninsula and out in the middle of the ocean. So I'm not going to have any internet reception next week. So what I've done is I have posted a recording of the reminders for next week. So I won't be holding a live stream next week because I will be in the middle of the ocean. So what I've done is just posted a quick recording of some reminders. I went over some tips for the exam. So next week there will not be a live stream. And then the week after that we actually have spring break. So it's going to be a couple of weeks before I see you next. I'll see you next in week number 5. But I did send out an announcement about this. There will be an announcement next week to remind you, and I removed it from the calendar. So next week, what you can do when you click on this is you can just watch my quick video where I go through and talk about week number 4, but we won't have a live stream. Oh, thank you. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to eat way too much food and to be on a cruise and to just have a break. It sounds amazing. I'm very, very much looking forward to it. So thank you. Thank you so much. So no Twitch live stream next week. So I'm going to put that here in the chat. There will be no Twitch live stream next week. Just as a quick reminder, I also would like to remind you we're in week number 3. So if you could just take a minute, and I'll remind you of this every stream, just quickly double check your subscription status. If your subscription has ended because it's only good for 30 days, make sure you renew it. I'll remind you of that more after spring break because a lot of you will probably have fallen off at that point. The other thing I have for you is just a quick, your extra credit question, and I want to show you where you can find this and do this. So this is the week number 3 Twitch extra credit question. There is a little clip that I would like you to watch called The Attack of the Quack. And if you watch the chapter 6 lecture video, it's in there. But let me show you where you can find it, and then you're going to answer a quick question about it. So if you're on Canvas and you go to our chapter 6 lecture, right here, chapter 6 lecture, and then go to the very last page where it says application. Here is the little Attack of the Quack video. It's only a minute and a half, but it's plenty of time for conditioning to occur. So what you can do is you can watch this little video, which hopefully you watched anyway, and then you're going to identify the US, UR, CS, and CR in that clip. And so when you're ready, you can answer that extra credit question by clicking on extra credit number 3 right here. And this is due by Sunday, April 2nd at 11:59 p.m., so you have some time. But you click on the Start Assignment button up at the top, and then you can type your response down here in the box and hit Submit Assignment. And that's going to give you that little confetti burst and rocket ships. I don't know why rocket ships, but that will allow you to get those 2 points. So I hope that you take the opportunity to do that. There won't be an extra credit question next week, so definitely do this one this week to get those 2 points. Get going on week number 3 materials. Read chapter 5, read chapter 6, go through the lectures and the lecture videos, do discussions 5 and 6, and then that really quick self-assessment. When we're done here today, I will upload and download this video, and I'll post it right here so you can watch it later if you need to go back, or if you're watching this later, you found it. But I will do that later today. Stay safe, stay dry. I cannot believe it's still raining so much. And I don't know if any of you saw last night, we had a tornado warning for like 20 minutes. It was absolutely crazy. I mean, it was a little bit farther north of where I am down here in like Moore Park, Simi Valley area. But to see tornado warning on my phone was crazy. Definitely unexpected. So we've had some very interesting weather, and I'm flying to Texas tomorrow, and there's thunderstorms there, so it's definitely been a week of interesting weather, to say the least. So anyway, I'm rambling. I want to be mindful of your time. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Hang in there. Good luck on the materials for this week. I will hang out for a little while here if you have any questions for me. I'm going to minimize my video, but if you think of anything you want to ask, put it in the chat, and I would be happy to answer it. Otherwise, again, I won't see you next week, but please do watch the video that I recorded for you so that you can get all of those reminders. Okay? Have a wonderful week, everyone. Again, I'll hang out for a few minutes, but I'm just going to minimize that, and feel free to put any questions you might have in the chat. Thank you as well. Thank you so much for being on here with me. I really appreciate those of you who are joining me live. And if you're watching this later, that's fine too. I love the video you had on Canvas with the candy. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad that you liked it. I try very hard to give you videos that are entertaining and fun whenever possible, right? There's so many great examples of psychology everywhere. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Thank you as well. Thank you for joining me on here. So the study guide is basically the key terms from every chapter, right? So if you go back to Canvas and take a look at that, I'm glad you asked because that sometimes confuses people. So for example, if you click on chapter 5, the page here where it says key terms in review, all of these terms will be on the study guide for chapter 5. I'm just giving them to you with each lecture so that you can study a little bit at a time if you wanted to. But when you click on the study guide, you'll see, so it says consciousness and selective attention are the first two. When you click on the study guide, sorry, my internet is slow because of the rain. But when you click on the study guide for next week, you'll notice that for chapter 5, consciousness, daydreams, right? So it's the same terms that are just compiled together on the study guide. So they are one and the same. That way you can kind of study a little early if you would like. Thank you. Thank you as well. Thank you. I hope you have a nice spring break when it comes. It's coming up fast. The readings should give you a nice overview of the chapter. So, your goal with the readings of the chapter is just to get that broad understanding and overview. All of the key terms are covered in there. So, you're reading for understanding, right? I would say that should be your focus, is just on understanding the materials and getting that first exposure to the materials. Perfect. I love the little picture. That's awesome. Thank you for asking questions. I love it. Keeping me busy. I like it. I cannot believe how much it is raining right now. Thank you as well. Have a wonderful day.